as well as all that album, and there's some great songs on there.
Thanks.
I think something quite remarkable happened a few weeks ago, didn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'd be interested first of all whether you had any sense of that in the writing of the song. But I mean, there's a particular song which I got very worked up about, but I understand it had quite a good reception in the sort of New Frontiers Southwest event as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And people were really quite powerfully impacted by it in terms of it being anointed, in terms of the words and the music, and just something about the song. Every now and then a song comes along, and for me, maybe I'm a sort of tough and wizened old crock. I have to confess, it was the first song for a number of years, really, that had impacted me that dramatically. I mean, I found myself just listening to it again and again and again and again. I must have listened to it about 30 times in a row, and I just had tears streaming. And it wasn't because it was awful.
It was a dodgy recording.
No, it wasn't because I like that, although it is, but that's not the point. It was actually it was just the combination, really, the words and the music, and God just really touching me. And I just wonder, first of all, you know, when you wrote the song, did you have any sense that it was maybe a little bit different than some of the other stuff you'd done, or not really? Or was it just another song?
It was really, it did come out of nowhere, because I hadn't really written much for a while, probably 4 to 6 months, I think. And I got this CD, The Valley of Vision, by Sovereign Grace Ministries, that Bob Kaufman had put together, inspired by the Puritan prayers in the book, The Valley of Vision.
Yeah.
And just really moved by some of them in there, and got the book, kind of had a look at some of the prayers, and they're so insightful, and they, you know, just full of revelation, you know, to these guys who would obviously spend hours a day with God. You know, they didn't have any other distractions, really, well, apart from their ministries, you know, and leading churches, but which takes up a lot of time. But you know, men who quite clearly spent a lot of time with God. God had given them understanding into these areas, and it was just a prayer called Privileges. I've no idea who wrote it. There's just a small bibliography in the back of, you know, people that they've been taken from, and it was just a brilliant prayer, and I thought, I'll have a go with it. And I think the previous evening I'd just been kind of humming to myself. It was an old tune by Brahms that I used to play when I was a kid, like on the piano. So it's slightly different. I've tweaked it just slightly. I hope Brahms doesn't mind. I'm sure he doesn't. He's long gone. So
don't have any copyright issues there.
No public domain. So it's fine.
So hang on, let me just get this right. You didn't really write this song.
I didn't really write it.
You got the words from one guy who's dead and the music from another guy. Isn't that called plagiarism? No, they did. No, well, not really, because you did change the words and you did change the music. So that's okay.
I did. I have kind of just pulled the words around, made them rhyme. You know.
So what made you think of putting the two together? I mean, it sounds like it was a bit of an inspired moment.
It just came together, and it was bizarre in a way.
So I didn't really agonise over it.
No, it just kind of flowed out. It was completely, well, you know, the words weren't mine, the music wasn't mine.
I mean, you have rearranged the words quite a bit, though.
Yeah, I have rearranged them quite a lot. But it did feel like, and there was there's some wonderful phrases in the prayer, you know, about hell's gates being barred to us through the death of Christ, and
I love that line.
Yeah, and
so really,
just wave upon wave, and and each accusation.
I just love to think of the fact that some guy who's long gone, who we don't know who he is, wrote this prayer, probably never thought anything would come of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now suddenly, I mean, did you know, incidentally, you know the hymn Amazing Grace was never actually popular in John Newton's time, for example. His whole life it wasn't that popular, because he didn't write it to a very good tune.
Right.
And so someone came along, put it to a different tune, I think 100 years or so after his time. For example, Spurgeon's hymn book doesn't have it in, because by Spurgeon's day it had been forgotten completely. But then after Spurgeon's day, it came back in again, which is quite interesting. And yet now it's probably the most widely known hymn there is. I mean, we sang that one this morning, didn't we? Oh, this afternoon, I mean.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But also with the song as well, I'd left it originally after the fourth verse, which was... And the way I'd worked it was that, you know, we had a kind of without him is this, you know, and blah, blah, blah. So you got a negative and then positives in the second half of each verse. So... and the fourth verse was, without him the darkness is all I can see, and the terror of sin would abound within me. Yet a boundless horizon of glory is mine, when Christ in the depths of my heart is all light. And I left it there and I thought, okay, that seems finished to me. And we got to the Southwest Conference and we played it. And I think it was at lunchtime, I saw Terry Virgo in the canteen and he said, you know, I like the song. Do you think there's a fifth verse in there? Just one that is kind of, it doesn't have the negative things, but maybe just an application of, you know, the wave upon wave grace effect, you know, that we are completely and utterly guided, consumed by grace. And so that's where the fifth verse came about. I kind of got down that evening and I thought I can get it out somehow, like kind of, and I stayed up. Anna was long, my wife was long gone, like tucked up in bed, and I was sat there till the early hours, just kind of trying to get 5 lines out, you know, that would make sense and would just express it. And I got up in the morning and I was singing it in the shower, and just kind of finding myself really like stirred by it.
So what was those words then?
It was by grace my affection is drawn to the Lord, and by grace I'm renewed by the power of His word. It is grace that will strengthen my will and resolve to live for my Christ till I kneel at His throne. So, and I was just getting to grips with it in the shower and just realising, you know, I'm not here by my own merit. I have nothing to offer. It wasn't me who chose God. It was God, you know, who chose me. By grace I was drawn to Him. By grace I'm renewed by Him. Yeah, and by grace I'll live for Him. So, yeah, and it just so happened that there were bits of the prayer that I'd kind of neglected before, and so now with that fifth verse I've pretty much used everything in there. So it was yeah.
Oh,
so there was a fifth verse there.
So hang on. The Secret of Songwriting by Matt Giles. Nick some words from someone, nick a tune from someone, get some advice from a third guy, and Bob's your uncle.
Presto. You've got a song.
Makes it sound easy.
There you go. That is
it's like a kind of mixing, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit of eggs, a bit of sugar, a bit of butter.
Yeah.
But I like the cake, I have to say, Matt.
Good.
And
Thanks.
I think, you know, God's really been on that, and I think it's a great song. It'd be interesting to see, you know, what happens with that really, and what happens with you, Matt. And perhaps at some point in the future we can talk to you again.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on the
Thank
blog.
you for having me.
Let us know when you've recorded it, and we'll share that as well, and hopefully that will, you know, it'll continue to go out. Amen.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Adrian.
Right, you're supposed to press pause at this point. And now I'm going to have to edit it.